Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory transformed from a quirky children's film into a cultural phenomenon. But the magic on screen came with a price. Behind the whimsical sets and unforgettable musical numbers lies a story of creative battles, corporate manipulation, and bitter feuds. From a script that didn't exist when cameras started rolling to a chocolate river that made actors sick, the production faced chaos at every turn. Gene Wilder's iconic performance almost never happened, and the author who created the story grew to despise what Hollywood made of his vision. This video reveals the secrets that show how this beloved classic was born from real-life controversy. Let's start with a secret that explains why the entire production began in complete disarray. Number 1. A scriptless start. Most films begin with a completed screenplay, but this production launched into filming with barely more than an outline. Roald Dahl had been hired to adapt his own book, yet his initial draft was skeletal at best, little more than scene descriptions and basic dialogue that left the cast and crew scrambling for direction. The studio panicked as shooting began without a proper script. They brought in writer David Seltzer at the last minute to frantically rewrite scenes while cameras were already rolling. Actors would receive new pages on the morning of filming, sometimes just hours before they needed to perform. This creative disarray nearly derailed the entire production. Cast members have recalled the confusion of trying to build characters without knowing where the story was heading. Yet somehow, despite starting with almost nothing on paper, the film managed to find its voice through this chaotic process. Few major productions have ever begun with such fundamental uncertainty. Number 2. Chocolate bar behind the movie. The film wasn't created purely for artistic reasons. It was secretly a massive candy commercial. Quaker Oats funded the entire production specifically to promote its new Wonka chocolate bar, and the company's influence extended far beyond simple product placement. They even pushed to change the movie's title to emphasize the candy maker rather than Charlie. The marketing plan was ambitious but ultimately flawed. Quaker Oats planned to launch the chocolate bar alongside the film's release, hoping the movie would drive massive candy sales. The studio gladly accepted the funding, even if it meant making creative compromises. The chocolate bar failed spectacularly and was pulled from shelves within months. Despite this commercial disaster, the film itself survived and eventually thrived. What was meant to be a forgettable marketing tool accidentally became a cult classic that outlived the product it was designed to sell. Number 3. The original Oompa Loompas. The visual design of these iconic characters went through a dramatic transformation before filming began. In Dahl's original book, the Oompa Loompas were described as African pygmies who Wonka had essentially imported from their homeland. This portrayal immediately drew criticism from civil rights organizations who saw it as deeply problematic. The studio faced intense pressure to redesign the characters completely. Rather than risk controversy, producers made the radical decision to transform them into fantasy creatures with orange skin and green hair. This change required new costume designs and makeup tests. Social pressure directly reshaped one of the film's most memorable visual elements. While the bright orange appearance became iconic and beloved by audiences, it was born from necessity rather than creative choice. Today, those orange-faced Oompa Loompas are inseparable from the film's identity, though few viewers know their appearance was a last-minute compromise. Number 4. Why Dahl hated the movie. The author's relationship with the film soured almost immediately after production began. Dahl watched helplessly as his carefully rewritten script was torn apart and replaced with dialogue he never approved. The studio brought in another writer to make changes without consulting him, and he considered the alterations a betrayal of his work. Gene Wilder's casting particularly infuriated Dahl, who had envisioned someone completely different for Wonka. He also despised the added musical numbers, especially the Candyman, which he felt existed solely to sell records. The author nearly went public with his criticism, but held back due to contractual obligations. His grudge lasted for decades after the film's release. Dahl refused to participate in promotional events and spoke bitterly about the experience in interviews. The author's resentment was so deep that it influenced his decision to maintain strict creative control over future adaptations of his work. Number 5. Title change and its true reason. The decision to rename the film from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory involved more than simple marketing strategy. While Quaker Oats pushed for the title change to emphasize their Wonka candy brand, there were other concerns at play that the studio carefully avoided discussing publicly. The name Charlie carried unfortunate associations during this period. In wartime military slang, it had been used as a term for Vietnamese forces, which was still fresh in American consciousness. Additionally, the name had racial connotations in certain contexts that studio executives wanted to avoid entirely. The studio settled on Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory as a safer choice that served multiple purposes. It satisfied the corporate sponsor while sidestepping potential cultural sensitivities. Few people realized the change involved careful consideration of social and political factors beyond just selling chocolate bars. Number 6. A daughter's wish made it happen. The film's existence owes everything to a 10-year-old girl's persistence. Director Mel Stewart's daughter, Malene, had just finished reading Dahl's book and became obsessed with seeing it on screen. She begged her father repeatedly to turn it into a movie, refusing to let the subject drop no matter how many times he dismissed the idea. Stewart initially saw no potential in the project and tried to move on to other work, but his daughter's relentless enthusiasm eventually wore him down. He decided to read the book himself and suddenly understood what she had seen in it. The story's blend of darkness and wonder could translate beautifully to film if done correctly. He pitched the concept to producer David Walper, who helped secure funding from Quaker Oats. Without Malene Stewart's insistence, her father would never have considered the project. She remained proud of her role throughout her life, knowing that her childhood passion had sparked something that would entertain millions across generations. Number 8. Wilder wasn't the first choice. The search for Wonka proved far more complicated than anyone anticipated. Fred Astaire received serious consideration, as did British comedian Spike Milligan and Broadway star Joel Grey. Each brought different energy to auditions, but none quite captured what the role demanded. Wilder campaigned hard for the part after reading the script. He saw Wonka as someone unpredictable and slightly unsettling, rather than simply whimsical. During his audition, he demonstrated this interpretation with unexpected choices that caught everyone off guard. Director Mel Stewart was immediately convinced, though studio executives took longer to come around. They worried Wilder's intensity might frighten children, but Stewart argued that improbability was essential. Wilder ultimately won the role by offering something no other actor had, a performance that felt genuinely magical, yet faintly dangerous. Number 6. Charlie's exit from Hollywood. Finding the right child to play Charlie required an exhaustive search across the country. Peter Ostrom was discovered performing in a Cleveland children's theater program, and casting directors saw something genuine in his screen test. After months of interviews, the 12-year-old beat out hundreds of other candidates for the lead role. The filming experience was magical for Ostrom, but it didn't inspire him to pursue acting further. When the movie wrapped, he received offers for other roles and was encouraged to move to Los Angeles permanently. Instead, he made the surprising decision to turn everything down and return to his normal life. He enrolled in college, studied veterinary medicine, and built a career completely outside entertainment. Today, Dr. Ostrom works as a large animal veterinarian and reflects fondly on his brief moment in cinema. He occasionally attends fan conventions, but has never regretted leaving Hollywood behind.